Dan Perry here with another C++ tutorial for Dan on Tech. In this video we will look at formatting. So far as we've worked with our variables, we've not worried about how they looked. We've just accepted however the output was, whether there were decimal points and things like that. For example, I've got a couple of numbers here, and variables I and j, and I've assigned them some values. And then I'm outputting a heading followed by the variables I and j. So if I run this one and look at the output, you'll see that even though it shows a value of 12.345678, it's displaying with essentially 6 digits, 12.345, and it's showing a 7 where it's rounding. And then the larger number, the J value, is showing 10,987.7. I put a little space in the cout so we know how it spaces a little bit. So we've not controlled really how these look. We can control how numbers look with some formatting options. So I'm going to copy this line and I'm going to use it with some formatting, and there's a couple of different ways we can format and some different commands for formatting. What we're going to look at first is a command that works with a cout, and it can be on the same line as your cout, or it can be on a separate line, and that is a function called set ios flags. And I'm going to put it on its own line, cout, and then set ios flags, and then in parentheses I can tell it that I want fixed show point, so I can tell it how I want the numbers displayed. So if I do ios, now colon is the syntax, it's 2 colons, fixed. I'm telling it a fixed number of decimal places. So set ios colon fixed. The double colon is an object-oriented command, an object-oriented syntax. We've not done any object-oriented programming, but the set ios flags here will work. Now, you might notice that I've got a red squiggle under here, so if I try to run this one now, I'm going to get an error. Well, that's because I actually have to add a library to it, and in order to do it, I have to go up and come up to my includes, and I have to include a library called iomanip, or for IO manipulation. So I need to add that library, and once I've added that library, then you'll see my set ios flags disappear. So make sure you put the library in, and if I run it now, it has set my ios flags or used the fixed so that it is showing those numbers basically with a fixed number of decimal places, and that number is 6. So by default, when you do the set ios flags, it sets your number format to 6 decimal places, and so we now have 6 decimal places showing. It's a persistent command, so it will stay in effect until we make a change, until we said one of the other commands. So we could say show point, or we could do scientific to change it to scientific notation. So we've got the set ios fixed there. There is also a way to turn it off, so we could turn it off if we needed to. Well, I'm going to leave that line there. There's another syntax that does the same thing. Since this is on, I'm not going to see any difference, but it is cout dot setf, and then in parentheses it would be the same command. So iOS, say : show point. And so if I ran that one, and let's go ahead and copy this line so we don't redo it. And when we run it this time, we really see the same thing, because the show point here is not making any real change other than the fixed. Had we not done the fixed before, the show point might give us a slightly different result. But you can use the fixed or scientific inside this cout.setf. Now, both of these commands are what we call persistent commands. Persistent meaning that they are in effect until you see another set iOS flags command or setf command. Now, the next thing we want to do with that is we would want to maybe tell it how many decimal places to do. And we've got a command for that one, and there are two forms of it. One is the standalone that's on a line by itself, cout.precision, and you tell it number of decimal places, and I'm going to say 4. This is also persistent, and also it helps if I spell it correct. It is persistent in that until the next precision command, whether it's the standalone version or the other format, it will be in effect. So let's run with this one, and notice that this last line, each number is showing with 4 decimal places. So it shows it with 4 decimal places. Now, they're not lined up exactly right, because as I get shorter, that tab in this line changes the spacing. So we'll see how to take care of that and get rid of that tab shortly. Actually, probably in a later video. Let me run another cout, and I'm just copying the same line we did before, but I'm going to come over here, and before the J, I'm going to, in my cout command, I'm going to do a set precision. And I'm going to tell it 2. So now the second number, the J number, should display with 2 decimal places, while the I number displays with 4. And remember, I said that these commands are persistent. So if I were to run the cout command that I've been running again, let's see what happens to the I, which in this line, the I will be 4 decimal places. See how many decimal places it is here. This J should be 2 decimal places. And when we look at our output, okay, we've got everything set to 4 with this set precision that was just before this line. Set these to 4 decimal places. There's no set precision at the beginning of this output line. There's nothing at the beginning. Since there's nothing, it's still at 4. This is changed to 2 decimal places with this set precision command. But notice the next line is 2 as well, because, as we said, this is persistent, the set precision. So once you set it, it is in effect until you make changes. Well, thank you for watching this Dan on Tech video. Please subscribe to this playlist so you don't miss future videos. And please check out and subscribe to our other Dan on Tech channel playlists.